Ahlebait TV channel 745, and I'm your host for tonight, Fahima Mahomed. As we are addressing various issues, it's really important that we do understand that we're not ignoring our current situation, which is even more restricting as we speak. And we have no idea as to what's happening even in the next 24 hours and after that. And it's quite fitting for my guest tonight, especially with regards to giving back. As much as we are struggling and we are finding it very difficult to cope under these circumstances, I think that we do need to reflect and inshallah have some tips and ideas how to move forward by still being able to be part of, a cause to help others, even though we feel we also have the need. So before I also go in to introduce my guest, I just want to remind you all, this is a live call-in show. Please do call in with any questions and comments that you have for myself or my guest tonight. And I would like to introduce to you today, we have Brother Neil Nasser. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having us on the show today, sister.
It's an absolute pleasure and definitely an honor to have you today, actually. And of course, we have our scholar for today as well, Syed Razawi. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for hosting.
You're welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. And I really want to just obviously say that I am actually blessed to be sitting amongst scholars and also some amazing guests. And there's no exception tonight. We have a very, very amazing person who is not just, doing work in the community, but is actually known as a Samaritan in his own right, as well as giving back, a role model. And also not just for himself, but he actually helps others, in the community, a real brother in Islam that's actually there for the community and has, helped in so many areas, which we're going to go into. So the topic for tonight is our humanitarian assistance. I know that we always think that there are companies and institutes out there that are doing their job. And a lot of the time, if we give back in charity, that is doing our part. But I guess, especially now, when so many of us are actually finding it so difficult to even cope ourselves, I know one of the strategies I use for my clients is to help them to fulfill their day, to be more sort of feeling successful within themselves. And one of the techniques I use with them is to actually give back. Even if they feel in a low sort of way, I find that, that sort of giving back gives them so much in return as well. So it's like, it's a two-way thing. So before I continue talking, I really want to invite you, Brother Neil, first to sort of tell me, firstly, how important it is to give back and the different ways of giving back from your own experience.
Well, alhamdulillah, thank you so much. Salam alaikum to all the viewers. I'm not too sure how much time we have, but just that one answer to that question will probably take me a good few hours just to answer. There's so many ways to give back. The importance of giving back is the feeling that you get. And you're right in saying that people at this current time, this current juncture that we're living in, there's a lot of isolation. There's a lot of people that are suffering with their well-being. We need to engage and look around us and try to help others, try to support others. We should never look down on somebody unless we're willing to lift them up. The feeling, the emotion that you get from helping somebody is unexplainable. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, says, as little as a smile is charity. To walk along the street and to see somebody that you're walking past who may be isolated themselves, and just to give them that one smile, that might be the one interaction that they have that whole day with another human being. So we think sometimes the most smallest actions that we do are nothing, but believe you me, it means the world to some people. Sometimes it's not about the biggest gestures that you can give. Sometimes it's about the smallest acts of humanity. What is humanity? What's a humanitarian? Someone that's concerned, seeking to promote human welfare, somebody that's defined as a humanitarian, has the characteristics that uniquely show kindness, mercy, and sympathy towards the nation, human beings, God's creation, animals, welfare, the earth that we're living on. We need to encourage and engage and promote human welfare, social reforms, show no prejudice to human suffering, and to understand dependent even on grounds of gender, sexual orientation, religious or national divisions. We should take our biggest example is Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The sacrifice that he made in Karbala, the altruism that he showed, the true humanitarian. In fact, when you read the dictionary definition of what is a humanitarian, it's an out and out description of Imam Hussain alayhi salam.
Amazing introduction. That's very true. I do find that, Syed, when we're speaking about this continuously, we have all the right answers, we have the role models, we have a lot of this, but a lot of our community members, and I'm not here to bash anyone, I'm just here to give it and say how it's real, because at the end of the day, these kind of shows are different. Because we have got issues in our community. There is suffering, there is pain, there is loss, there is loneliness, there is depression, there is anxiety, even amongst the most intellectual, professional status labels, because these are my clients, and I'm not talking just because of statistics out there. These are, people that are really living and really feeling it. And a lot of us think that when we are in these situations, we cannot do anything, but actually sometimes the way to do something for ourselves is to give back in the community in various ways. Even like you said, a smile, a time, calling somebody, even though where there's restrictions, we can be innovative and creative. But Syed, I do find that a lot of people, they can find more time with judgment and criticism than actually trying to help somebody else. And it's all about, it's taken care of by the other. We've got companies, we've got charities, we've got work people out there that are even on the ground and they are doing things. But if someone was to actually increase their mental well-being and be a better mu'min and be a better person, it's not just about your daily salah and duties. And it's more about your acts of service. Now, how important is that in our sort of faith? And to not just live it by, wearing a particular garment, speaking in a particular way, being seen in a particular area, just so that you are seen to be in that way, but actually giving when even no one knows. Even it says, your right hand shouldn't know from your left hand as to who and what you're giving. So how important it is for us as individuals to give back in that way, actually increase ourselves and elevate ourselves in our faith and status in that sort of faith way.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. According to Islamic teachings, the best way of giving back is to give exactly back what was given to you. There is a saying, and verse of Holy Quran also, that the reply for kindness is kindness. So, and it cannot be replaced by anything else. In the modern world, or in the world that we live in, unfortunately, we have become very familiar to judging everything on financial and materialistic values. But if you look at the Islamic teachings, Islam says no. It's quite contrary to that. And if a favor is given to you, first of all, you should not expect a return. And then if you do a favor to someone, and the best way to return the favor is to either do the same thing to that person, or even better than that, or not only to that person, you repeat that kind of favor to not only one, to other community. Establish it as a habit. Promotion of this itself is a charity. Itself is doing a responsibility, because we believe in Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahy anil Munkar, and it is part of our duty to also encourage others to do what we have done, or what we have witnessed from someone else in our favor or someone else's favor.
Very true. Thank you for that. Brother Neil, now you are really in the front line. You're not just talking because of statistics. You are out there, sometimes even in the cold, to share those beds on the street. I have done my research. I know what you do. And it's really, really inspirational. I don't even think that a lot of us who speak, including myself, can even do half of what you do. So it's an absolute honor to be sitting here alongside you, but at the same time to be sharing the kind of work you do, because you actually put yourself in those harsh situations in order for you to actually, understand as well as continue in your work. Tell us really about what's going on out there right now. And even know, listening to the news even today, there's an increase in homelessness. There's an increase in a lot of youngsters who actually are finding it so difficult. And tell me more about what we can do and what is really out there.
So worldwide statistics would show there's around about 1/3 of the world don't have a home, don't have a roof over their head every single night. There's over 1 billion people in the world without access to clean water. So when you look at those kind of statistics, when you look at the people that have no access to homes or even just the basic necessities that we live in our lives, it hits the heart hard. Right here in the UK, you're looking at around about 280,000 people that don't have housing or sustainable housing. In London, where I am now, roughly 8,000 people will sleep on the streets every single night. These are our neighbors. These are our people. These are fellow human beings that have fallen on hard times. And we, unfortunately, as Syed has said, we judge people too much. We judge the fact that they're there because they're drunks, they're alcoholics, and they put themselves in that situation. This may be true for some people, but not the majority. Believe you me, not the majority. Some of these people have had very successful careers, very successful lives. They've taken one gamble, they've taken the wrong move. They've maybe had a relationship breakdown. They maybe have had financial difficulties and they found themselves on the streets. They found themselves homeless. And once they're in this cycle, it's extremely difficult for them to get back out. Extremely difficult to get them back out. The whole welfare system, unfortunately, is set up in a way that when you don't have a residence, there's very little benefit that you can get, and very little support that you can get. And they rely heavily on charities to try to help them. Unfortunately, we see massive increase in people that are sleeping rough because refugees are coming over to the country. We've opened the borders, people are coming through. We just recently saw the boats that were coming in south of the coast. And where do they head? They head to the golden streets of London. And what do they try to do is try to access some housing, some sort of benefits. And they just find themselves in this rat race, literally sleeping rough. Now, this time of the year, this festive season, this Christmas season, there's a lot of outreach. There's a lot of people out there doing some amazing work. And that will last for around about 2 to 3 weeks where the Mayor of London and other establishments will have additional rights and additional support. So they'll be in houses. They'll be in hotels that are empty. They'll be in empty warehouses that, due to being in the tier 4 and being in this lockdown period, they're empty. So they've got rights to these houses. Places like Crisis, St. Mungo, some of the major charities will be offering support. There's a major campaign right now, Christmas at Crisis. People should get involved. If they're not, we don't celebrate Christmas. So what are you going to do on the 25th of December? Are you just going to sit at home with the normal? Can you go out there and do something? I urge everybody to go to the Crisis website and sign up. Maybe you can drive a van like I'll be doing, drive a van around London and help deliver food. It's very simple to do. Homelessness is a massive part.
I do find that a lot of people are a little bit skeptical. There might be a minority, but you do find a lot of people that are coming, for example, from European countries, and it's kind of like, not in all circumstances, obviously, but there is a few of them that it's now become even a business to be on the streets begging, and there's kind of like a syndicate of that. Like, how would you kind of differentiate between the people that are really desperately in need, or does it really matter because they're still obviously doing what they're doing by actually begging on the streets? Like, how do you sort of like judge that, or how do you sort of like advise when you come across that or you see that, or are there any sort of like places that you would go and say, no, these are the kind of charities and these are the kind of people that you need to look out for so that you know it's genuine or not? Or does it really matter? What's your thoughts on that?
I think that it really doesn't really matter. It takes a strong character to actually reach their hand out to somebody to ask for help, first and foremost. It's quite easy to tell that somebody is either living on the streets or not just by their persona and where they're staying. So what you can see that they may be well groomed and they may be cleaner and maybe having access to cleaner clothes. Having said that, it's very difficult to judge on somebody. You should try as your best really to go with an organized charity if you can. Generally, when you offer something to somebody, you may offer food rather than money, because you don't know where that money is going to go. If somebody is refusing that food, then generally they want the money, and they may want that money for other purposes, be it they are professional beggars, we're going to call them, or it may be somebody that is going to use that finances for haram, or alcohol or drugs. So that's for your judgment. But I do urge people to actually, rather than just throwing that £1 down or buying that meal deal, just spend a few minutes, just sit down. If you have that few minutes, obviously be COVID safe, but just have a conversation with that person. Because as I say, that could be the only interaction that person would have with anybody. Literally, a 5 to 10 minute conversation is the most important thing. And we feel this now with this isolation, with this lockdown, with these tier systems, that we may live on our own and we may not have interaction just with our family members even. So that conversation that you can have with somebody would be better than any kind of money that you could potentially give that person.
No, that is absolutely true. And I love the fact that you said that. A lot of us, we walk by and just make a quick judgment. But if you actually were to take even a minute or two and just have a conversation, not even to gauge or judge, but just the fact that you will understand somebody else's kind of way of, living, which will give you that way of thinking. Very, very important. Absolutely. But I had to address it, obviously, because these are the excuses that, people obviously say and share that, they're not genuine, they're not real. And which is another important point. Syed, I want to bring this to you. When there is suspicion or there's thought that they're going to spend in haram way, or we only give to charities from our own sort of like faith groups, because a lot of us may not support other charities. Like, what is the actual rulings on this? Because I think it's important. I mean, we are talking humanitarian, but I think a lot of us do get mixed up thinking that it only, applies to our own faith backgrounds or our own, again, charity companies that we know of and we are secure with, but with the intention, but at the same time being cautious and smart. Like, how do we balance that, and how do we give openly and not restricting? And is there a restriction on giving charity regardless of the faith or what sort of, company they stand for?
Yeah, I mean, if you for sure know that this person is going to use the money for drinking and drugs or something like that, then you are not supposed to help them. What I usually do is, if somebody comes like that and if I have a suspicion, I would tell him, okay, let's go and I'll buy a sandwich for you. Or in America, while I was there, the organization Fatima Zahra Center in Alabama, in Huntsville, we used to go under the flyovers in America and cook around 2,000 meals and give it to these people. We used to organize with the establishment which used to take care of them, and they would spread the word of mouth within all these people. And we were quite surprised that exactly on the time they used to turn up and stand in a queue and would ask why we, as a Muslim, I used to stand like this with this uniform and hand over the food and explain to them about our religion and what we believe, and we don't care whether you are Muslim or not Muslim. We care why you are living in this manner. And majority of those who used to come to us and seek help were ex-military personnels. They took part in the Vietnam War, and in America, when you go to war and you are a soldier, you get paid a lot. But but unfortunately, majority of these people, when they come back and witness all those atrocities and explosions and crimes that are committed, they get mentally scarred and they are not able to live with their own family members, and they are thrown out of the house after the money they earned was taken away from them by their own family members, and they end up on the streets, sleeping under the flyovers. So we used to go and help and feed them at least twice a year. 2,000 meals we used to cook, and it was not only us, the Shia center. We used to encourage the Sunni Muslims and the Christians and the Jewish. We used to go all together as a multi-faith organization and feed them, and it had a great impact.
That is so important, that what you've just said. We have to work together. Faith, no faith, backgrounds, doesn't really matter. When we're here to help, we should just really, put our hands out in order to do that, regardless of who's standing in front of us. Brother Neil, when it comes to, helping and being in the front line to actually help, how is that for an individual to even, fulfill their own mental well-being? Because, people today are going through a lot of suffering themselves, whether it's in the pandemic or not, but obviously even more so now, and losing their jobs and not having much to do, or not finding the energy to do anything even. Like I said before at the beginning, I do encourage people to either volunteer when they do have this time, but how important is it for people, and especially youngsters, to see that side of the world where it can really bring a difference to not just their lives, but to your own? Talk me through that a little bit, because you obviously do that much more than most.
Sure. So, we see it firsthand. We run a food drive as well, as similar to has said, and I was just saying, we run a food drive in Charing Cross through under the banner of Hussain. Every Saturday for the last 6 years, we've been going there every single week without fail. And throughout this ethos, we've been helping young people from the community to get involved, encouraging people to come down, to give back to society, to understand the plights of the homeless. We don't call them homeless, we call them our guests, because when you invite somebody for a meal, they're your guests. So they are our guests. They're a guest of the Imam, in fact. Alhamdulillah. So we see these youngsters that have come through, and without giving away my age, I've been doing this for a very long time. So the energy levels aren't so great anymore. So when we're able to invest, coach, and develop young people, the feeling that they get, the skills that they develop, help them into their workplace, into their careers, into their society. They become very confident. They're able to publicly speak. There's individuals that I know of that have got jobs based on the voluntary work that they're able to do. There's people that I can remember the first time they ever came and stood behind the food table, and now they're running the food drive, or they're part of the Hussain core team now. They just come into their own. We've built a way that we can coach people to firstly give out the food and lead that table. Then there's another area where we have guest relations, where you're interacting with the guests. You're talking to the guests and understanding what their needs are and becoming friends with them. And then we have the PR team who stand in front of the food table on normally a very busy strand, and actually talk about Imam Hussain alayhi salam, his universal values, and show them what we're actually doing. And then the fourth one is the crowd control, where you're engaging with the guests, but you're making sure that everybody's safe. Throughout this kind of ethos that we've been doing for the last few years, we've seen people grow so much exponentially. We come away, we have first-time people that come along and they feel so good. We have a little huddle at the end of each week, and people give their feedback and express how grateful they are that they've come down, especially during times of Shah Ramadan, during Muharram, when you're able to go out there. Maybe your belly's empty yourself, but you're able to give back and feed sustenance to people that are really, really in need.
Wow, it's so enlightening to hear you speak, and it's so refreshing. And before I even want to do this at the end, I really want to do this now, where you actually have anyone right now who wants to reach out to you. I would love to promote where they can actually reach you, because this is so important right now, that even though we are, going through whatever we're going through, there is always more that we can do, and there's always less fortunate than yourselves. And it's like I said, it's double, where you're not just giving back, but you actually actually having that fulfillment, which is actually, I don't think any money can actually give that. I mean, I do my job because I realize the transformation in people is much more than any payment I can receive in return. And if only people had that experience even once, it's really, really infectious in a good way. So how would anyone be able to reach you? It doesn't matter of age, but obviously we're looking for people out there who want to give back and want to help, and they want to get in touch with you. How is that possible?
You can go to the main website, www.whoishussain.org. You can fill out the voluntary form that's on there with all of your details. And no matter where you are in the world, and I hence the world because Who's Hussain is in over 50 countries around the world,
Wow.
working for different humanitarian causes. If you want to get involved in London, just request to come into the London team, and we would be able to gladly be able to help you to work on a weekly basis. It doesn't matter; you don't have to be on the front line. Each organisation that we promote, maybe it's the Sahara Trust, Nor Orphans, maybe it's the local charity I work for called Lives Not Knives. There's people in the background that are always helping. There's drivers, there's administrators, there's people doing the social media, there's accountants, finance, there's people that we need in the back office to allow us to do our work. So no matter what skills that you have, it may be you're not a great communicator. It may be that you don't want to have your face shown on TV screen like I love to be in front of the camera, but maybe I'm not so great myself on actual social media. But your skills and your thing could be better placed somewhere else. If you directly want to get in contact with myself, you can go to any of my social media sites, NMN Life Solutions. That's the company that I run for life skills, life coaching, mentoring and training. We're able to facilitate and help people to get the best out of each other.
No, that's so vital. And I think, you know what, having a show like this, especially at this moment in time, I know you do this for many years and throughout, you've had so much success, but right now it is more needed than ever. And, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Syed, before we end, I want you to sort of just clarify something for me. When it comes to also, again, like you said, we can help others individually when it comes to giving back. What about other charities that are non-Muslim? And can we give them? Can we collaborate with them as individuals, or should we choose of our own? Because again, I think a few years back, overhearing somebody saying, "Oh, I'm not going to give my clothes because it's, some sort of like Christian charity. I'm going to either throw it away if I can't find a Muslim sort of charity." I mean, that for me personally was really taken aback. So can you clarify this? Because I think a lot of us still are very, very ignorant, and we do need the education and knowledge. And I think it's really important that we do have scholars like yourself to give this kind of information and guidance in the right way so that we can actually not have this prejudice and not have this judgment.
Yes, I mean, first of all, I would like to attest what brother said about who is Hussein. I personally took part in an event in Santiago, Chile. So this shows that how far who is Hussein has reached. So I was part of this campaign, and we were giving water and food to the people on the day of Ashura on behalf of who is Hussein. And Alhamdulillah, people come forward, and we were not looking what is their faith, who they are, where they come from. We were just answering their questions, and it becomes a source of interaction between both between us and others. And as far as your question is concerned, Islam does not tell us to restrict our help to Muslims only. When Islam, if you look at the Islamic teachings, you will find that it teaches us to help your neighbor without any discrimination, whether he's Muslim, non-Muslim, Hindu, Sikh. Up to 40 houses around you, they are all your neighbors, and you have a responsibility and duty to help them. And our imams used to say, if a person, not a Muslim, if a person sleeps in your neighborhood hungry and you don't know about it, you are responsible. So we have a duty to take care of not only us, others as well.
Thank you for clarifying that. I think it's really vital, and we do need kind of, kind of reflection, and we do need reminders. Our responsibility is not just fulfilling our duties to ourselves and ticking those boxes. It's really, really about how we treat others. Even if we don't like them, even if we don't see the same way, we have to be human in order to be human to somebody else. And I think that's what makes us more human, regardless of the labels and the attachments of status that we put around ourselves and others, which only creates more gaps and barriers. And I think, that's why it's really important that we do have this. Again, we do have a few minutes more left, and I do want to get as much as I can out of you, Brother Neil, because I know you're traveling soon. You might not be in touch anytime soon, but tell me of the projects that's coming up and how important it is that you do the work you do and you actually continue to do that, so that we can actually have more inspiration, inshallah, more people reaching out to do even, a little bit of what you do would be amazing, to be honest.
Alhamdulillah, the opportunities are there for us. It's this time of restriction. I found that most people have reverted from being human doing to human being because we've got more time on our hands. We spent too much time in this rat race where we're just doing. People have reached out now. People have got more time on their hands, and alhamdulillah, we've been able to establish a food drive locally in South London, which has been phenomenal, and taking part in terms of who's to say some of the upcoming projects that we're having. We're going to be looking at doing some sort of mentoring scheme within Who's Hussain, where we'll be helping young people and people just volunteering to grow themselves, not only on their voluntary sector, but obviously in their careers, in their personal lives, and trying to help them to flourish. I myself, my project right now, I've been lucky enough to be in a situation where I'm able to take a leave of absence from my employment, having worked in social housing for nearly 20 years. I'm decided to kind of press pause, and I'm off to East Africa. I'm going to go there for a year, inshallah, well, at least for the first few months, and I'm going to go and teach at an orphan school, and be able to give back to the community, and also be able to promote the school in its entirety and give back. But also alongside that, I still will be in touch. I'll still be available. I'll be taking my laptop and green screen, inshallah. So maybe we'll get invited back onto the show and we can give some updates about what we're doing. Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, that would be an absolute pleasure. We still, don't worry, we haven't ended the show yet. I still got one more, two questions for you. But the thing is, what I was trying to say is what's really also important, what I love to hear about what you do is not just about giving back, but it's so holistic, especially in mentoring our new generation or people that are struggling with employment and careers. And also if they're lacking in certain skill sets, like I find that really, really fascinating that you actually not just giving the message of Imam Hussain, not just helping others, but you actually trying to help the individuals that are helping you with themselves, with their own skills. And I think that is something which is so unique. And talk me more about that when it comes to you giving back with regards to your coaching and helping in that area so that people can understand that, even if they feel they don't have the skills and the ability, like how would you kind of like mentor them? And is there a process to see which space they're going to be at and what can they improve on? And, how much is that kind of availability that you give that, brings about that success in the end?
So we work in different ways with individuals. As we get to know people and people reach out to us, we use formulas and theories that we can help somebody to understand where it is they want to be, using things such as the grow model, the iceberg theory, where we can sort of see where somebody is, what is buried deep within them, and where they aspire to be. Alhamdulillah, I've been able to go into madrasas. I've been able to work in young offenders. Young Offenders Institute in Feltham. I've been able to work with a knife crime charity most recently. So this enables us to kind of look at some of the different areas of what's going on in society, especially with the youth of our communities, and be able to try to establish some sort of basis where we can help them to make them grow, to get the best out of them. Unfortunately, there is a lack of figures, role models within our communities that we need to invest more in that. in the street culture. Unfortunately, there's a massive gang and crime problem with knives that we see on a daily basis. There's a lack of male role models that are out there giving people help and support. What I've done throughout the years is by working and coaching and helping people from different backgrounds and different communities, I've been able to bring that into the work that I do, to look at people, to be able to establish that this person would like to, let's say, for example, publicly speak, like give the huddle at the end, be the person that would like to be in the center and start to talk to people, but they lack the skills in actually being able to vocalize themselves. So we might look at a way to actually give them help and support to actually get to that point when they stand up in front of a crowd, or whether on a one-to-one basis. We teach them effective communication skills. We teach them maybe emotional intelligence, things about body language, NLP. We're able to understand these cultures and be able to help them. That then in effect will help them when they're in a job interview, for instance, or when they are face to face just with their parents, or they're maybe speaking to Syed. They might find it difficult to approach someone as scholarly as Syed is, just to ask a simple question. So these skills that we're able to develop in an individual help them throughout their life period, and believe in a very much of an ethos of each one teach one. So as I invest in one person, that person will then grow, and one day, inshallah, be able to pass that on and pass that forward, and be able to teach somebody else and help somebody else along the line. So then you're creating this whole momentum, this whole ethos where people are just continuously giving back. And we see it within the 6 years of having the Hussain London food drive. You see so many young people that are now leaders within that organization. And, I can just sit back and watch them flourish, and they themselves are now going forward and teaching other people. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I'm sure you see it, sister, in your work as a life coach.
Absolutely, absolutely. But the way you're describing it, I love the whole sort of, like I said, holistic view of you helping individuals help themselves and others, and even create that skill set in so many areas, which I'm only really listening to and hearing for the first time now on the show. So it's so vital for you to come on and speak today to give this kind of information, because unless people are looking and make the effort, sometimes they do not actually come across someone like yourself or an organization that represents this kind of way of being. And giving back is meaning so much more. And inshallah, with a platform like this, a lot more people are understanding that they can give back in various ways and also help themselves as well as others, mentally and even with their skill set. And just quickly before we leave, when you're actually helping people, especially when you say the youth and knife crime and things like that, do you find that some of those statistics do include our Muslim brothers and sisters, or is it really outside the community?
Unfortunately, it does include some of our brothers and sisters in our communities. I mentor a few young people within local Jamaat and also, worldwide, that are in our communities that are facing problems and issues, bullying, harassment, domestic violence, just to name a few. There's a great lack of confidence in a lot of our youth, where they're unable to actually project themselves and see themselves. Whoever's watching, in terms of our federations and our organizations that are watching this right now, I urge you to invest more in youth programs and engage more in the youth of your community. These are our future leaders. These are the people that are going to be taken over from us. I'm not far from sitting on those chairs. It's hard to sit on the floors now in the mosque. So, we need to create foundations. We need to create committees where we're investing in our youth and being able to reach out to them and being able to support them to become the future leaders. We don't even know in our own community we could have the future prime minister of this country, but because that person is just not invested in and not given that amount of time, then unfortunately they'll just go to somewhere else and maybe even fall out of their religion.
You know what? It's been an absolute pleasure to have you today, and I'm so glad we have given you the time to speak because it's actually so different to what we normally have, but it's actually more useful than I've ever had in a long time. So thank you so much personally and from the team and the channel and everyone here today to have you give me your time and everybody else to explain in detail. And I'm sure that inshallah, I really urge everyone who is watching to have, some sort of input in the organization alongside Brother Neil, whether it's his own personal company or the, who is Hussain campaign or anything else. Please do reach him. Thank you so much, Syed, as well, for always giving your insights, awareness, and your learning and knowledge, which is so vital. Thank you so much for both of your insights and brilliant mindsets today. Inshallah, I hope that this has helped you for tonight's show, and hopefully we only wish you all safe and well. And inshallah, if you do need any assistance, please do contact the team. Please do contact our guest members. We are doing this in order to give and provide assistance, and hopefully we can only do more with your support. Thank you so much for watching, and inshallah I hope